You doing everything right, showing up, staying consistent, doing something that you completely believe in, and yet somehow every step forward feels like 5 steps backwards. The momentum feels like it's fading. Doubt just keeps creeping in. And for some reason, even though your intentions are positive, resistance just keeps showing up louder, stronger, and more often than you can handle. Let's talk about it.
You're listening to the Health, Tech, and Wellness Podcast, where we cut through the noise and get straight to what really works for real people. This is more than just losing weight. It's about gaining life and doing the things you never thought you could do, building lasting confidence and creating a body and mind you truly love. I'm your host, John Adams. I've spent years refining a transformative, sustainable plan that's realistic, balanced, and proven to work. And I'm on a mission to share the strategy that changed my life and help others build the life they truly deserve.
Welcome back to the Health, Tech, and Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, John Adams. And after a couple of quiet weeks without new episodes, it feels really good to be back behind the microphone. And if you've been tuning in regularly, you probably noticed that I took a little pause, about 2 weeks off from the podcast. I didn't write any new posts for the Drive blog on living95.com, and I didn't do most of my usual video content. I still showed up for a few moving in the morning motivational videos because honestly, those felt like something I needed just as much as anybody else. But beyond that, I stepped back for 2 weeks, not because I was burned out, not because I was unmotivated, but because I needed to realign. I didn't plan on taking that pause, but once I did, I realized how much I needed it. I'd been in the motion for a little while now, creating, sharing, and growing this community. But I hadn't stopped to check in with myself. And the moment that I did, I noticed just how loud everything had gotten in my head. Lately, I've been thinking a lot about something. And this is something we don't really talk about. Negativity. Negativity doesn't just show up when things are already falling apart. Sometimes it shows up strongest right when you're doing something good. And not just good for yourself, but more than not, it's when you're trying to do good for others. The moment that you decide to show up for somebody else, the moment that you step into a role that involves service, encouragement, leadership, or vulnerability, that's when the whispers really start. Who are you to say these things? You're not qualified. You haven't even figured it all out yet yourself. Why would anybody listen to you? And sometimes those whispers don't even come from inside of your own head. They come from the silence of others, from your closest friends and your closest family, from the people that you thought would be cheering you on the whole way, but yet they don't even say a word. Or it comes from the ones that do say something. They come with the little jabs that are wrapped up in, I'm just being honest. Or maybe it's just that quiet ache of comparison. You know what I'm talking about. It creeps in when you're not even trying to compare yourself to anybody at all. It's like the moment that you're trying to do something good, especially for others, is the moment resistance really jumps in front of you. And the harder that you try to keep your intentions pure, the more the weight starts to press down on you. Not all at once, just slowly enough that you don't even notice it until you do. And if you've ever been in that place, you know exactly what I mean. You start to question the entire thing. Even when your heart's in the right place, it's like the doubts, they all show up louder than the reasons that you even started in the first place. That's exactly where I found myself about halfway through last month, and right smack dab in the middle of Mental Health Awareness Month, no less. There I was, trying to speak life into others while wrestling with some old doubts that just kept creeping back into my head. It's kind of funny how that works, right? Sometimes the moment where you're most committed to helping others, those are the exact moments that you get hit the hardest yourself. I was still showing up. I still was doing exactly what I was supposed to do. But that voice, that old imposter syndrome voice, it came right back walking in through the door. It wasn't screaming. It wasn't dramatic. It was just a low hum in the background. It just made everything feel heavier than it really should have. And eventually, I had to be honest with myself. I needed to step back, not forever, not because I couldn't handle it, but because I needed to listen and take some of my own advice. So I did. I told myself, take 2 weeks and just work on back end podcast and website stuff and breathe and meditate and journal. That's it. I didn't make any announcements. I didn't write a dramatic post. I just quietly stepped back for a bit. And in that stillness, I realized something very important. I hadn't lost my passion. I hadn't lost my drive, but I had lost my sense of center. I was in motion, but I wasn't connected. I was giving, but not checking in with myself. And I knew that if I kept moving like that, it would eventually show up in the work that I'm trying to do for all of you. I'm trying to give you what I gave to myself for the last 3 years. And by the way, just a small little checkup. I had a doctor's appointment over these last 2 weeks. If you guys have been following me for a while, you know that at the beginning of my journey, my A1C was 13.4. I was 311 pounds. The last time I gave you guys an update on my A1C, I was down to 5.5. This doctor's appointment, the blood work come back, 5.3. I'll tell you something. Living 95 has been such a life changer for me, and I'm just trying to pay it forward. So during this break, great news from the doctors, I let myself breathe. Some of you may have noticed, especially if you follow the blog on living95.com, I bought a new MacBook. Not because I needed another device, but because I wanted to be able to write, plan, and create wherever I was, not just in the studio. And I used it to finish the last week in my series in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month. And then over the 2 weeks, I didn't just go into all or nothing mode. I kept it all or something. I gave the Living 95 website a little behind the scenes love, stuff most people will never even notice, but things that make it flow smoother for all you guys to navigate. And yeah, I updated the podcast cover art too for the audio side. As you can see, it's not huge. It wasn't for style points, but I kind of wanted it to match where I think the show's going and kind of reflect me a little bit more. And well, if you could take a look, I don't know if you guys have already noticed, but I needed to do it anyway. Because in the original, I completely forgot the L in health and tech and wellness. I don't know how I did that. It's been on there now for way too long. But get this. It took 22 episodes for one of you to finally point it out to me. But honestly, that was kind of the best part. A listener on YouTube commenting and pointing it out. And even better, it was at the end of one of the video episodes that the audio cover just happened to flash up on the screen, and he caught it. And you know what that told me? He watched the whole video. That little comment, that one moment, reminded me that people are listening. That what I'm building here, it's landing and it's connecting. And even if the growth feels slow, even if the algorithm doesn't always show it, that one comment reminded me people are listening and they're watching. But more than fixing the typo and changing the cover artwork and tweaking the back end of the site or buying a new laptop, what I did was slow down enough to listen again. I needed to quiet the noise, not just around me, but in me. Because all the doing and all the building, it only works when you're connected to the reason you started in the first place. And I'll be honest, I'd lost a little bit of that. Not completely, but enough that I felt it. And in the world that we live in today, we talk about clarity like it's this magical moment, like it's a lightning bolt that hits suddenly and you know exactly what to do next. But that's not what it looks like. At least not for me. Clarity isn't loud. It's not dramatic. It's not some perfectly worded quote that you find scrolling at midnight that changes your entire life. Clarity's quiet. It shows up when you create space for it. It's that little voice under the noise that reminds you what matters. It doesn't always tell you the next 10 steps, but it brings you back to your why. And for me, that's where things started to fall back into place. So here's a few of the things that I learned about clarity during this little pause. Some of these things I'd already been building in, but they really got clear during this pause. Number one, clarity begins when distraction ends. I didn't realize how much mental clutter I was carrying, even though I did a couple videos back about digital clutter and all the things that we carry around. I didn't really notice all the mental clutter that I was carrying until I stopped and paid attention. Not just to-dos, not just schedules, but all the metrics, all the doubts, all the noise that comes with trying to do things right. So if you're feeling foggy right now, ask yourself this: what do I need to maybe step back from just a little bit, even just for a moment, so I can hear myself again? Sometimes it's social. Sometimes it's pressure. Sometimes it's your own expectations that have been screaming too loud for way too long. Number two, clarity isn't about control. It's about connection. I don't have future episodes mapped out 10 episodes in advance. I don't have a giant master plan. But what I do have, especially now, is a deeper connection to myself and why I started this in the first place. It's not about being on schedule. It's about being in alignment. When I'm connected to that, the ideas just come. The words start to flow. Everything works better when it starts from something real. Number three, clarity shows up while you're moving, not before you move. Think about that one right there, because that one's powerful. I used to wait for clarity before I'd ever start. I would wait until an idea came into my head before I started even outlining an episode to put the bullet points together of what I wanted to talk about. I would wait for the clarity to come together before I started working on my blog. I'd wait for clarity to come together before I would move forward on a lot of things. I want it to be perfect. That's where I got to keep taking my own advice on a regular basis. Living 95 is not about perfection. It's about balance. So, what did I realize? I realized that it shows up as you go. This entire episode is straight from this last 2 weeks. It's life. Sometimes you rediscover your purpose while you're in motion. You remember why you started once you get back on the road. But if you wait to feel ready or clear before you move, you might stay stuck longer than you really need to. So if you're in a fog right now, if you've been showing up and it still feels like nothing's clicking, if you've got doubts creeping in louder than usual, Let me just say this plainly, and you've heard me say this multiple times if you've listened to my other episodes. You're not behind. You're not broken. And 100%, you're not done. You're probably just disconnected. Maybe you're drifting. And drifting is flexible. Sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do isn't to push harder. It's to pause long enough to hear actually what's going on in your head and what's going on around you. You don't have to hustle your way back into feeling whole. You just have to start listening again. But here's the thing, and pay extra close attention to this, because if you mess this up, it's all for nothing. You've got to be careful with that pause, because if you're not intentional, if you don't keep one eye on the ball, that pause can start to feel permanent and way too comfortable. And before you know it, you've talked yourself out of the very thing that you're trying to reignite. So yes, pause, rebuild, and refocus. And then, when you're ready, get back in the game. But remember, the pause should never be all or nothing. This is the core of Living 95. We don't do extremes here. It's not about disappearing or pushing yourself full throttle. It's about staying connected, even if it's just small steps. During my pause, I still dropped a few moving in the morning videos. I still made small tweaks behind the scenes, because even a quiet season can move the mission forward as long as it's intentional. So take the pause. Use it. Let it do its work, but don't let it turn into a permanent exit, because what you're building, your weight loss journey, your overall physical health, your job, that new business venture that you're trying to start, your relationship that you're working to build or fix, whatever it is, it still matters. And the truth is this: someone out there, maybe you don't even know who they are yet, but they might be still waiting on the version of you that rises from all of this. It's like the phoenix. What's going to rise from the ashes? It doesn't have to be the perfect version of you. It doesn't have to be the loudest or the most polished, but it just needs to be the one who didn't quit. If this episode hit home for you and you want to go even deeper, I wrote a new Drive blog post on my living95.com website. It's called The Quiet Work of Realignment. It's basically ripped right out of my journal from the last 2 weeks. I just polished it up a little bit for the blog. It's raw, it's honest, and if you're in the same kind of season, I hope it hits home for you too. And hey, if you've never been much of a journal person, this might just show you why it's such a key piece of Living 95. Because journaling isn't just about venting. It's about checking in with yourself. And realignment always starts with awareness. Thanks for riding with me through this entire reset. I know the world's loud right now. And I know life gets heavy. But you showed up today. And that matters. We're back, guys and gals, with more clarity, more grounded, more focused, and more committed than ever to build something real and to help as many people as possible to find a way to live the healthy, happy life that they truly deserve. So as always, stay healthy, stay balanced, and keep driving forward. I'll see you next time.